Well, it's good evening here from Radio FM 88 Australia, broadcasting from Springwood, Queensland, Australia. Right down the very bottom is my co-host from the UK. It's Andrena Forrest. In the middle is Donna Hammer, and she's our guest tonight. And if you see the little flyer in the middle there, Animal Communicator. And I think that's what we're in for, a special treat tonight, because this is what she does as a career. I'll pass you over to Andrena. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you're listening to the replay. I'm really honoured to have you on the show, Donna. It's just animals and communication, I think, for somebody that does that is just absolutely brilliant. I mean, wherever I've been on my journey, I've usually ended up, there's dogs. It doesn't matter wherever I'm staying or family members, they've all got dogs, and I am a dog lover. And there's many a time when they've been in pain or what have you, and I've reached out to different people, and I thought, oh God, if I only knew what was really going on. So I'll let you start sharing some of your journey, because I know you've got so much to share with us. It's absolutely fantastic. But there was a few little things that it's somewhere along the line about chemicals, wet wipes, and all the things that are affecting animals' sensitivity and all that sort of thing. So I wondered if somewhere along the show we can have a little talk about that, because you can cover so much, can't you? You know, there's bereavement, and when family members lose a pet, and vice versa, and of course pets pick up psychic from people, and they take on humans' emotions. I mean, it's such a big subject, isn't it? So where would you like to start?
Well, I'm making notes.
Oh,
so I'd like to say, first of all, thanks very much for having me. I've got a little bit of feedback going on here, so I do hope it's not affecting anybody else. It's nothing like listening to yourself, is there? So I guess I'm just going to roll back to the start and basically say that I think I've communicated with pets all of my life. And I'd like to say to everybody listening to this call today too, that you can communicate with your pets too. It's just we need to become aware of what they're saying, because I believe we're all animal communicators. So, you know, I've always had pets in my life, always loved pets, always bringing the odd one home. And probably one of my earliest memories is, I've got a picture on my website of me about this big, bringing home this little black kitten and saying it's lost. And it's really funny because that delightful little kitten gave me ringworms. But the rest of my life, every time I see a little black kitten, I think, we'll be really careful, Donna. But even still to this day, I've got to say I'm all collecting animals. And, you know, just last night, I ran outside. There's a little possum sitting on the roof looking down. And I go walking, and I don't know why, but I find all the lost pets in our local neighbourhood. And if I don't find them... Well, if I don't find them, guess what? People knock at our door. And the other morning I was having a sleep in, and I hear this knock, knock, knock. I thought, God forbid, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Why would somebody be knocking at the door? And I go downstairs, and my partner said to me, Donna, there's a dog tied up around the corner. You need to go rescue it. So that the neighbourhood all say, go around the corner and see Donna. She'll help you. So even for any injured wildlife, I get the knock on the door. The local people who do the gardens around here, parks and gardens, call me up. So, you know, it doesn't matter where I go, I seem to attract them. So, you know, for me, I would have to say that that's animal communication. Animals have been just such a huge part of my life. And I did a live, I don't know if it was this week or last week, and this girl popped on. What I love about Facebook, anybody can connect with you. And she said, you healed my cat 27 years ago. And I sort of stopped and I went, I wasn't an animal communicator 27 years ago. How could I do that? Anyway, she said, you know, you remember, and she shared the story, and I do remember. Her cat had been run over. It literally still had the tire marks on it. She brought it home, and I happened to be at their house, and I said, right, let's start doing healing. We'll meditate, and we'll do all these things. And I had this really big crystal. Look, I still have it 27 years later. And I put this crystal with her cat, and it stayed in the cupboard for 7 days, the cat and the crystal. And it lived for many years later. And it was funny, it just dawned on me that I was already living into my purpose 27 years ago, but I just didn't know.
Of course.
Fabulous. So how did it start then? What made you realise that you had a gift and you needed to explore it further so you could be of service to the animals?
Well, it was, I don't know. I think I've always loved animal. Well, obviously I've always loved animals. I always loved a little bit of the psychic stuff. You know, let's go to a clairvoyant, or let's do this, or let's do that. And people used to say you've got the gift. And my family would say I've got the gift of the gab because I could talk. But, you know, I supposedly had the gift, which I went, why would anybody want to do that? You know, I worked as a legal secretary for years. I'd become a digital marketer, and I just didn't think this was ever possible. Around about, I think, 7 years ago, I adopted a golden retriever called Fergie. He'll be in one of the many photos I've shared, and I was gifted an animal communication session.
Wow.
And I kind of got a chuckle and went, yeah, whatever, this will be fun. And when the lady started telling me things, I was like, it was like a light bulb moment, because I know all this stuff. I knew things about the dog. There was no way I could have possibly known, because, you know, he came into the rescue without a history. So that was really, really exciting. And before the conversation finished, I said to her, do you think I could do this? And she said, of course you can. Everybody can communicate with animals. And of course I scoffed and went, yeah, right. And I think it took another 3 more years before I really plucked up the courage to learn. And I took myself off to a couple of classes, and I got amazing messages, and it just sort of snowballed from there. And eventually I thought, I don't want to be a digital marketer. I don't want to work for other people. I really want to do this, be a professional. So I quit all the other jobs I had. I was making extremely good living. I quit all that, and I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And, you know, slowly but surely it's just been rolling on since then, and I couldn't be happier. I love what I do. Every day I get up, every day I'm excited about what I do, and if I can help an animal or help somebody with their pets, it's amazing. That's my beautiful boy Fergie. That's the one who got me into it, and he just passed a couple of months ago. Very special boy.
It's such a gap in the heart, isn't it, when you lose a pet, because you know, I've met so many and I've not lost many personally, but I know that it leaves such a big hole for people.
Look, I think it's one of the joys, and I know that probably doesn't sound great, but one of the joys of being an animal communicator is that I can help a pet parent with their animals that have passed, and actually just share words that their pets want to share. And sometimes I can be sitting here laughing, and the pet parents are sitting there bawling their eyes out, but I'm laughing because the animals tell me such fun, and you know, they want to share those beautiful messages and raise up the spirit of their guardians. They don't want them to be sad and grieving. They want them to remember all the good times. And that is a joy to be able to do that for people.
So is there anything like really astounding that is really gobsmacked, is the word? You know, you've brought somebody's pet through and they've given some information that sort of blown them away, if you like.
Oh, you know, look, there's many amazing moments. I think I shared with you recently about a bulldog. And I'm going to call him George for the sake of using a name. And the guardian was extremely upset. It was really heartbreaking for her. There was a lot of attributing factors. And this particular dog had me in absolute stitches. So, he shared information about what he was doing. He wanted to be specific about the things that needed to happen, let's say at his wake, if you want to call it that. He wanted his mum to share his ashes at a certain place, and it had to be on this beach. And she had to make pup cakes. They were called pup cakes. They had to have blue icing on them and little paw prints on them, and she had to make 20 because there was going to be 20 dogs there. There had to be all this, and it's really funny because, sometimes I even say to myself, did you make that up, Donna? But it was just flowing. And the lady was laughing because she said he loved to go to the beach. He had this. He was showing me all these outfits. And I said, he wants a coffee table book, and you've got to put photos of all these outfits. Now, I didn't know that he did marketing pictures, like, he used to, I think, wear outfits to be on some website. And I kept saying, I see him, he's dressed up as a fireman and a clown and a this and that. And she was just like going, yes, he did that all the time. We have all these photos. And he wanted cards done. And then, he talked about, I said, look, I think you're going to change careers. And just as I was about to say you're going to become a groomer, she said, I'm thinking of learning to be a dog groomer. I said, yes, this is what he wants you to do. And it was just amazing because I was just able to bring through all this amazing information for her. And where this lady had been really quite devastated about the passing of this beautiful dog, it really did help her with her healing.
Definitely, because you're coming from a different aspect then, aren't you? Knowing that your dog's happy and healthy and around you and, fabulous. So I know you've mentioned about, I know you've swam with the whales, and Jeff recently came back from Fraser Island, and I've had pleasure of swimming with whales and dolphins. And I know you mentioned about the gorillas. You've been to see the gorillas. So how about sharing something about that?
Well, there's no gorilla photos in here, sadly.
We know what they look like.
I actually went and got my photos from Africa because I spent a year in Africa. And I went to go and get my photos, and I couldn't move the box because I wanted to get some for you. But many moons ago, I was running away from a relationship, and I thought I'll just go to Europe for a couple of months. And 4 years later, I was having the time of my life, and I got to go on a trip to Nairobi, which went from there down to Johannesburg. And when I flew back to London, they said, would you like to be a cook? We need someone to go on the safaris. These will be gorilla safaris. It's a 4-week trip. And I jumped at the chance because I thought, who wouldn't want to go?
Yeah.
So off we went. 3 times I trekked with the gorillas. Amazing experience. And at one of them, I was sitting there with camera, ready to take this photo. And the baby came in and leaned right in and touched my lens. And, of course, at that point I went, fell over backwards because the big silverback had started to go, ah!
I love it.
So, in my fear of him coming at me, I kind of collapsed over backwards.
Was he a big one?
Huge. They're absolutely huge. Like, he was really quietly sitting there, and then as the baby had approached me, he got a little bit upset about it. And, they said, make sure you stay back. But it's hard to stay back when you've got these animals coming at you.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I know, like, going back to the whales, they say you're not meant to get within a certain distance of the whales, but there's nothing that doesn't stop the whales coming up to see you.
So when we went whale swimming, let me see, I think it was about 2 years ago. I was hoping to go today, but it was really windy. So we went straight out the front at Malulaba, and, I'm taking deep breaths because, let's face it, there is sharks, and they give you a little shark anklet. Like, hello, how's that going to help me? This is a photo of a whale that I took last week, by the way, at Harvey Bay. But So they go, okay, we're going to go swimming. So what happened with the whales is when we left Mooloolaba, there was probably about 10 of us on the boat. So I was getting everybody to meditate and we were calling up the whales because, you know, I really wanted to have a really good whale swim. And we attracted 2 males, young juveniles, and they swam with us for 45 minutes. So we jumped in the water and you swim out and then you're just kind of floating around there. And these big guys were going around us. And I should have sent it to you. We were sitting in the water and one of them came up and rolled over. And there was a couple of Asian tourists with us. They literally, I've got this selfie underneath the big dorsal.
Fabulous.
One of my friends touched the whales, even though you're not supposed to. But she said, what could I do? It was right there.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of had back a little bit, but right at the very end of our swim, I looked down and I started to hyperventilate because this big guy was underneath me. And at any minute now, if he'd come up, I was going to be on his back. Yeah, so I thought, start breathing, Donna. You're an animal communicator. You can talk to him, breathe. And so I just said, listen, I'm up here. I'm a little bit scared. And he said, you don't need to be. I know where you are. And it became really calm. And I just floated around and he was just floating there beneath me. And he said, I'll stay as long as you want to stay. And then eventually, you know, we all had to swim back to the boat. But what an experience.
Oh, priceless, eh?
Yeah.
Very brilliant.
Oh, fabulous. Oh,
So I do lots of fun and crazy things like that. You know, I mean, on Sunday, you know, I'm walking down the road and I said to my girlfriend, oh, that bird's hurt. And she goes, is it? And I went, yeah, look. So we get the towel, or my jumper actually, and we're about to catch him. I said, oh, hang on a second. I think the wildlife lady lives around the corner. So I jogged down there. She comes down and like it's a little magpie. This is a baby I rescued another time, but this one was the mother actually, not this one, but another one. And she'd broken her leg. So the wildlife lady come and helped her. I got home and I'm sitting and I'm relaxing and I could hear the crow calling and I thought, oh, what are you doing? I've rescued this crow about a year ago. He got hooked up in fishing line and was hanging off a tree. And I saved him, took him out to the zoo and I brought him back. Amazing experience returning him to his family. But he was outside, so I went out to see what was going on. And he's got a little baby possum in the tree. And I suggested to him it wasn't a good idea in my neighbourhood to eat the possums. So he disappeared. Same baby possum was at our back door last night.
Oh, really?
And then a few hours later, I was just sitting outside relaxing, and the beautiful black cockatoos flew over, and they were doing the calling. And for me, they're my spirit animal. And every time I want a message, I just kind of go, oh, well, you know, if I'm meant to receive, and they somehow deliver. You know, I have beautiful cockatoo feathers that I've collected walking around, or I'll go into a shop and randomly there'll be a picture of a black cockatoo. So, you know, all this fun does happen all the time for me.
Yeah, so you can see how passionate you are. You walk your talk, and it's lovely. But I know in the past when I've been in Australia and black cockatoos go over, and it's just like such a very sacred moment, you know, to see them. Very special.
Well, I've got to tell you the funny story about the black cockatoos. When I lived in Mooloolaba, I used to have a, what's the tree called? Anyway, I had a particular tree in my backyard and they would fly in. And the thing would be that if you saw a black cockatoo, it was going to rain. And I always believed that, right? I go, oh, the black cockatoos are here, it's going to rain. So it was really bizarre for me, X amount of years later, that I just happened to be driving down the street one day and this massive, massive, unfortunately it's fallen on the floor. I'll see if I can find it here. This massive feather was sticking up out of the ground. And here we go.
Oh, wow.
Look how big it is.
Oh my gosh.
And we were driving down the road and it was just sitting up like this. And I said, could you stop? I need to go back and find out what this feather is. And I'd never ever seen one like this before. And so it was a lot of investigation for me as to what they were. And ever since where we live at Twin Waters, you know, they regularly come back here through the year. But it wasn't until I reflected one day that they used to always be in my house in Mooloolaba as well. It's just that I wasn't really aware of them at the time.
Amazing.
And, you know, right now there's another group. There's a young boy up the road in Coringian, Sunrise, and they're trying to save the black cockatoo land. And it's just beautiful because, you know, the younger generation are coming through and really trying to help a lot of our native animals where all the plants are being torn down for feeding areas. They're just trying to save these things. So, you know, I think I'm pretty special to have received these gifts, and it's even better when I find that there's young kids really trying to support wildlife.
But that feather's something else, eh?
Mm.
Wow.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. No, I've never seen one of those, I have to confess, but there you go.
There is this is a yellowtail black cockatoo, and there is red tail ones. I've got red tails as well, and then there's a white tail black cockatoo. So there's a few different ones.
So what else can you share? Because it's just, and also it'd be nice to know because, like a lot of people want to connect with their animals. Now I remember reading a long time ago, and it said send symbols to the animal, and the animal will see the symbol. So I was always sending hearts.
Okay, so in relation to animal communication, the thing is, if you want to connect with your pets, which we all can do, I like to do this kind of little fun thing. I suggest you go into one room and just bring all your energy back into your heart center, and then visualize in your mind's eye sending a message to your dog or your cat or whoever. And if you like, you can just get a treat or something in your hand and send them a message and say, I've got this treat for you, and send that message to them and just sit and wait. Now, they might come straight away, might be tomorrow, might be the day after. But if you actually sit and actually bring all your energy in and don't have all the crazy business going in your mind, they will hear that and they will come to you. Which leads me into, I'm starting on the 5th of October, Animal Communication Level 1 class. And this is something that I teach my students on that actual course because, you know, lots of people want to connect with their pets, but we've got such a busy mind going on. And if you know, bring that energy back in, relax, and really get rid of the chitter chatter and get rid of people like Marvin who tell you you're crazy, you can't do this, and you're making this stuff up. You actually will find that it's quite easy to connect to your pets. And yeah, sure, you can send them symbols and they love hearts and things like that, but they already know you love them.
Yeah.
They get more excited when they know that you can start receiving those messages and you actually can, you start to hear what they have to say. And particularly if you look at, say, animals that have got issues, say maybe a dog that's barking all the time. You know, some dogs I connect with them and humans are pretty upset that they're barking. And when I ask them why, they go, I really like the sound of my voice. Okay, great. So that's good that you do, but your mum doesn't want to hear that all the time because it upsets the neighbours. Oh, well, why don't they like to hear me barking?
I love it.
And that's a beautiful thing about animal communication because you can have that conversation backwards and forwards and you can get their point of view and you can share their guardian's point of view. So it's like having a three-way conversation and it really can enhance that relationship between the two.
Regarding your course on the 5th of October, is that in person or are you doing it on a Zoom link or is it both? Or
it's actually Zoom. That way then doesn't matter where you are, you're in the comfort of your own home. But the last course that I did, we had somebody from Mexico, we had Canada, the USA, India, Australia, and I think we had a New Zealander on the call. So usually I have about maybe 12 to 16 people on the training courses, and it runs for 4 weeks. So we do a live Zoom each week, and then we go into a practice group where each week they practice for the next 4 weeks. So you really get to take those skills on board and start playing and practicing with animals. And Ajax, who is one of the photos we shared, Jeff, the one that was on the couch with his feet down, that's my beautiful golden retriever. And he is our guest teacher. And I can assure you that's him. Out of the 200 plus students I've taught, he gives a message to every single student. I've not yet had somebody who couldn't connect to him.
Wow,
He's pretty amazing. He's 11 and a half years of age now. And, you know, one of the courses I went to, I studied with a lady from the UK, and there was 35 students at that course. And they asked, you know, animal guests. Anyway, Ajax was there, and people started to stress because he gave different messages to everybody, and I couldn't stop laughing because he was sharing all these fun things that, you know, like chasing the sprinkler around or chasing the hose around, or his frisbee being really important to him. And you know, if you're in a group and everybody's getting a different message, they think, oh, I must be wrong. And I was just going, no, this is what this guy's like. He just loves to share and help people.
Amazing, eh?
It is. And this week on our class, because I do every second Sunday, I have a group where people come in and practice. We're using a little poodle, or I can't say we're using little Jess. I have recently fostered a 16-and-a-half-year-old poodle. Her name is Jess. I have to call her little Jess because my son's called, that's her. My son's called Jessie, and her name is Jessie. So she's little Jess and there's big Jess. And so the students this week have connected to her to ask her what colour her bowl is. And she has happily shared all these colours with people, and I'm laughing because it's not the bowl she uses downstairs, right? So in our class this week, we're going to reconnect with Jess and ask her questions. And those questions might be things like, I hope my students aren't listening, by the way. They'll find out the answers. So little Jess has shared with 8 of them so far that she has a white bowl with blue writing on it, yet the bowl she uses downstairs is red. And this is a really good thing, actually. Anybody listening who's used an animal communicator before, sometimes the pets will tell you something that's not true, right? So she's told all these people she uses a white bowl. I know she uses a red bowl. But the question could be, right, so I've only had her for 7 months. Did she have a white bowl in her last home? Or does she want a white bowl? So this is great where it brings up that opportunity for me to turn around and say, let's reconnect with little Jess and ask her those questions. Is this something she would like? Or is this something that she used to have? And you can really get in and clarify it. And you know, some people go, oh, that's so wrong. And I go, no, hang on a second. Your cat might, or your dog might tell me that they love chicken, but just because you don't feed them chicken doesn't mean they don't love it. So, you know, she's also another great teacher because she really makes them work hard for the information.
Oh, gosh.
I've got a message here. Do you have anything you wish to tell us? One thing I have done for my students as well is I you know, blatant plug here, I created these beautiful pet connection cards.
Oh, yeah,
and
you mentioned those.
That's Ajax on the front. But these cards, there's 44 cards, you know, when you were talking about as well, sending messages through to your animals. Oh, there they are. That, you know, you just come into your heart space, shuffle them and ask for a message. And interestingly enough, when I first released these cards, funny I'm talking about training, when I first released these cards, every time I did Facebook Lives, I always got exactly the same card as I opened. And I couldn't stop laughing because I would connect to Ajax and then I'd say, can you draw a card for me? I'm just trying to see if I can find the card. And this would be every time what I would share.
Oh.
So in the end, I used to take this card out because I thought people would think I was making them. But, these cards, I've had them about a year now. I first released them when COVID hit last year. And a lot of people have bought them. They've gone all the way around the world. It's just been amazing. And I get awesome feedback because there's such an easy way for people to start animal communication with their pets and just get really, really simple messages about what their pets want and, what they need to do in relation to building a better relationship with them.
Have you been around any monkeys?
I've been around some of those horrible monkeys in Bali.
I don't know why I'm asking that, but just come in.
It's a message that came in. But when I lived in Africa, we used to have those baboons, scared the living daylights out of me because they used to steal our food all the time. And from that, I always got really nervous going to Bali because, you've got those tiny little monkeys that steal your glasses and your hats and things like that. And when we went recently to Borneo, I saw the orangutans over there, which was amazing, absolutely amazing. And then we saw the proboscis monkeys. So, I guess I could tell you loads of more animal stories, but every year I try and go to a different destination and see some sort of wild animals or, things going on. And I really wanted to see the orangutans because, their lands are getting chopped down and all the palm oil things going on. So, the difficulty about that is you only go to these centres now that they're sort of behind glass areas to see them. But we did walk through some of the bushland, or not the bushland, I don't know, do you call it wetlands over there? What do you call it? The plantations as such. And there was some wild ones come through and stuff like that. So that was pretty damn amazing. I just think I'm blessed that I'm able to go to places and see animals like this. And even the fact that, in the next week I'm going to swim with whales at Mooloolaba. I mean, not many people get to do those things or have been to Africa like I got to go to Africa and things like that. So, I'm truly blessed in that respect.
Have you connected with elephants at all or been to the elephant sanctuaries anywhere?
When I lived in Africa, I was chased around the park by an elephant because I had
from a man.
I suppose that I deserved it because one day I was playing in a swimming hole and I soaked the elephant dung and I was hurling it at people till the ranger come to tell us that we were making so much noise we were frightening the wildlife. And then 2 nights later I was in at the shower having a quick shower because water was of short supply, and the elephant tried to run down or knock over the shower facilities because of the short water supply. And that same night, the elephant was trying to eat the leaves above my tent. And I kept thinking, any minute now I'm going to get squashed. But all that time I was in Africa, I was not aware. And, animals were just there and things like that. I did obviously see them when I lived in Thailand for a short period. And I really loved that. But other than that, I don't tend to... sorry, I was just reading the message that came up on the screen there. I was trying to understand what it was saying. Donna may have another device open. No, I don't, Vanessa. We don't know what that feedback is.
Yeah, we've tried all sorts this morning, haven't we? But for whatever reason.
So in relation to the... one of my things about wildlife is this. They are wild and therefore, unless they engage with me, I don't tend to have conversations with them. And I know a lot of people connect to lions and whales and this and that. But I just made that conscious decision that it wasn't where I was coming from. You know what I mean? Sometimes they send me messages, and I think the reason I was called for the crow was to go and talk to the little possum, make sure he's safe, and those sort of things. But it's not that big long conversation. I know a lot of people bring through a lot of messages. It's just not where I come from or where I work.
Okay,
That's a little baby possum that was rescued.
Yeah. Vanessa's asking about communicating with mistreated animals, and I know there's a lot. So you hear some horrendous stories going on, and I've met lots of people that their dogs have all come from been rescue animals, which is lovely. I always think you're giving them a home, but what about those that have been mistreated?
Well, Fergie, my golden retriever that got me into this, he'd been badly mistreated. He was beaten a lot. He was chained up a lot, and from being chained up, he could try to chew through all the time, and they nearly drowned him. So, what I learned from him was that they don't always want to dwell on the past and the mistreatment. Some animals will certainly share things with me. They will answer questions about it, but more often than not, the conversations that I had with them, they don't want to dwell on those things. And, what I can share with people is that some people will get those messages and really be able to relay those.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can tell from my personality, I'm a little bit fun and happy. So that tends to be where my animal communications come from. They're more of this high vibe, enjoying the conversation, sharing that message. And so a lot of them just don't dwell in that. They go, yes, this might have happened or that. But, I have had some pretty deep conversations with some pets, but generally it's more of a fun thing. I mean, look, I had a beautiful horse. This was really, really sad. She had scoliosis and all of her joints were fused together. And I was asked to connect to this horse, so I did. I shared all the messages. And then a week later, they said, could you connect with the horse and let it know that we're putting the horse to sleep in, not this horse, by the way. We're putting the horse to sleep in 30 minutes. And I was devastated because to me, the horse was enjoying life. But yes, the horse was in pain, but the vets had decided that this horse was in so much pain it needed to transition. And that was pretty horrendous conversation. The horse trying to come to terms with what had happened or what had gone wrong and why this needed to occur. So that was pretty heart-wrenching experience. Yeah. And I shared a couple of photos with you in there about bushflower essence.
Right.
I shared the photos on there, Jeff. If anybody's listening, these are my two go-tos. Transition, if your pets are starting to get towards the end of life, this stuff is absolutely fantastic. It's about $20 a bottle in Australia. It's for major life changes, but I highly recommend this to the guardians to use on themselves and their pets leading up to end of life and even after the animals have transitioned. Amazing stuff.
Oh, thank you for that.
Sorry, Jeff, what was your question?
Hang on a sec. You had them snails.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, they were at the front of my house. So all creatures great and small. Interestingly enough, they've been out there. We've been in this house for 3.5 years now. And these two are doing a mating ritual, and I couldn't help but take that photo. And, they were quite substantial, about half the size of the palm of my hand. Really, really big. And I used to watch them every night out there, and I loved them. They'd be up the palm tree. Anyway, we recently had the garden done, and I was telling the gardener, if you see my snails, leave them alone. And he, I don't think, was so generous in relation to animals as I am. But these two, I've had loads of fun with them, backwards and forwards, up our walkway, in and out. And there's another massive big tree frog, the same size as my hand, sits out there, big green tree frog. And as I take the dogs out for a walk at night, when we come back in, they're just sitting there in the entrance.
I know over here, like, because when you get a lot of rain, and sometimes in the past I've gone out in the garden and you've not seen, and you go crunch crunch, and I'm going, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, oh, it's the most horrific to me is like, oh god. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you train with other animal communicators. Some of them are very, very serious, and obviously, I like to have fun. However, we all have to be kind to animals, right? That's excluding flies. So I have to do this ritual with flies because I have a fly swatter and I go, and so I go in there because we have a lot of flies in Australia. And I like to leave all my doors open. I like a lot of fresh air. So what I do is I say to the flies, listen, thank you very much for being here. There's the door. You've got 3 seconds to move out there, or I'll hit you with my fly swatter. So I give them plenty of pre-warning.
They make a swift exit.
Well, a lot of them do. They all fly down, and then if they don't, I say to them, so you're ready to die, are you? I'm giving you a second warning.
Give them a transition drop.
And it's the same thing with mosquitoes. Like I say, please don't bite me because I'm going to have to kill you, and then I'm going to feel bad about it. Yes.
I did try that when I was in Australia because the mozzies in the past have loved me, and oh my god. So yeah, and funny enough, the other night I heard zip go pat, and I thought, oh no, that's the first one I've heard since I've been back, and it bit me on the bum, I tell you.
Oh, serious. Well, mosquitoes love me too, but let me just tell you about this guy, this little ant eater. Oh, porcupine, actually. How gorgeous is this? This was found in a friend's front yard.
Oh.
And there was one recently just in the bush not far from where I live. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful, and how amazing you can see those when you're out walking. That guy's so cute. So I was just recently at a pet expo, and a march fly came and landed. You know how big march flies are, and they bite, right? And it's on my arm. So I'm looking at this march fly, and I said, listen, mate, I don't want to have to kill you, but if you bite me, I have no alternative but to do this. So please just fly off and we'll be happy, but wait 1 second while I take your photo.
I love it.
So I took a photo, shared it on Facebook. What else do you do?
Well, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah. I know we went to a place one Christmas, and oh my God, the march flies were everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. Horrible things.
Yeah,
but they have their purpose in the great scheme of things, eh?
Look, they do. And I mean, it's like bees. Everybody used to get ballistic about bees, and now we're waiting to get the bees back because we've used so many pesticides and killed off so many things. And if you don't have bees around, things are all going to stop.
And this is what I notice is the insects, there's beautiful gardens around, and you see the odd bee or the odd wasp or, the odd fly, and you could sit out having your jam scone and what have you, and the wasp will be everywhere. But, and I know it's a sad fact that everybody's spraying with chemicals. I try to do everything with alternative chemicals and oils, not chemicals, alternative products and what have you. So I'm aware, so if I move on, that I purchased a Healy because it picked up so much. It came up with me, yes, I have mine here somewhere, that I had 73% of allergies, and I was horrified, and I thought, well, I haven't got anything wrong with me. I knew I had some things going on. Anyway, so I investigated further and what have you. But I found the animal one on there, and I know I spoke to you about it. I've been working with one of my niece's dogs, who's he's 12 now. He was 12 yesterday, so I've been sending him some, and then where I am now, the two little dogs, and I hope she wouldn't mind sharing. But it came up with sensitivity and irritants. Well, they're only little doggies, and so I'm, I'm just aware that people, not everybody, but a lot of people use a lot of chemical stuff, and they don't realise that the animals, like, because they're closer to the ground and they lay on the ground, and I know people use like Febreze over here or something. You spray your sheets and you can spray it so it smells fresh, and then they sprinkle stuff over the carpet so it smells fresh, and I just think, well, the animals must be absorbing a lot of these toxins. That must affect them greatly.
Well, it's interesting. I think I was a bit crazy when it came to cleaning products myself as I grew up. And it wasn't until I think I adopted Fergie that I became really, really aware of it, because he lost 2/3 of his fur. So he had major skin issues, major, and everything would trigger him off. So, it's like what you're saying. People think, oh, I'll just mop the floor, but the dogs lie on that straight after. And like, I have a cleaning lady now, and she says, oh, the house is not clean unless you can smell it. And I go, no, that's all chemicals. Don't you realise that the dogs, not let alone us, but they're picking it up? And I think you asked me earlier, because it's what we wrote down about sensitivity, is there's just so much stuff that we use that the animals are picking up all of that. And, sorry, little Jess was just caught up. The animals are picking up on all of that it's making them sick. And I believe that's why we're getting so many animals with cancer at such a young age. I haven't vaccinated my dog. When I talk about Ajax, I don't think he's been vaccinated in 6 years. I don't use flea repellent on him. I don't use any of those things. He's on a completely raw food diet. And it's not that I am insensitive to these things, but, he's so sensitive. If he gets one flea, he gets a hot spot. So, for me, I use things like green clay, or I might use tea bags on, black tea bags. Once they cool down, you put those on the hot spots to take the heat out. So I'm all into using natural things. So, when it comes to cleaning the house, water and vinegar and all those kind of things are what I use, so that the dogs aren't getting any of these things with particles on their fur. And then, of course, licking it. So, the dog that you're talking about with the irritant, that could be sprays outside. I mean, I come home and the neighbours have been poisoning all the garden. And I think, don't they know that that's all chemicals floating around?
I just need to get my plug a minute.
Wow, she's run out of battery there, Jeff. I don't think people realise. They think if I'm not feeding it to my pets, they're not getting it. But, what they lie on, there's chemicals that come out of brand new carpet, all sorts of flooring, what's out in the gardens, what your councils spray onto the plants. There's just so much what we inhale, let alone what our pets inhale.
Well, even brand new cars, eh?
Oh, absolutely. That beautiful car smell is great, but there's still toxins coming from all of that.
But going back to toxins, I know in the olden days, long time ago, people would get a mop and, use, some sort of floor liquid that wasn't highly chemical, and just clean all around like that. And we never used any of those things. And now children have got allergies, and the animals have got sensitivities. And I mean, I'm very sensitive, and I can smell all these things, and there's, and all these plugins that people use, air freshener, and I thought, oh my gosh, but yeah, it's a chemical world at the moment. And it's like, people were saying about killing their weeds. I said, just get boiling hot water and pour it all along.
Yep.
Don't go
Yep.
spraying with all this terrible stuff. You know, we need
It
to
really
sort of
is interesting,
re-educate.
isn't it? But it's like our mobile phones, and what comes off them, and where you've got it placed, and I think there's so much around. It's like, how do you detox all these different things? So if you can become aware of how I can slow it down, so like what you're saying, use hot water, because the dogs are not going to ingest that afterwards. When you're out walking, look to see where they've sprayed.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always looking at the footpath of where they've sprayed. You can see the green spray around, or if I can smell it, I take the dogs a different way because they don't need to absorb it because it all comes through their pores.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And I don't think. I mean, that's just how I feel about animals, let alone what do we pick up in the meantime. And so, when you're talking about the Healy device, where have I put mine? I mean, that's an amazing tool. Yeah, that's an amazing tool to scan your own body just to see what's going on and to send those frequencies to your biofield.
And I know I'd like to work more with animals to be able to help them. And there's a program which is, is a subscription at the moment. So I thought, well, I'll look into that because I'm not sure. But, I think, if I decided to offer services, to help animals, and then obviously it'd be an investment, but I've only you mentioned it the other day, and I think another friend said about get the pet app.
Subscription.
So yeah, so you use that quite a bit.
Well, if anybody is listening and they've got Healy, I do have a group called Frequencies for Pets, and I do teach people in there. I'm trying to turn my Healy off because it's flashing. I do teach people in there a lot about using Healy for pets. But the animal bundle you're talking about is already coming with the resonance. The actual pet subscription comes under the Pink app, and that's a paid monthly subscription.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I was a little bit of I'll call myself a tight ass, and I didn't pay for it because I was waiting for them to give us the information all about it, right? Because I like to dig deep. I like to find out about things, and I was waiting for Hilly to release that. But as Ajax is getting older and he's getting more pain in terms of his arthritis and stuff, I would like to be able to do a more in-depth treatment with him. Well, it's not called a treatment, a session with him. For those sort of things. Oh, that's Fergie's birthday party. Isn't that beautiful?
I love it.
So, Healy's amazing. People need to come to you and get their pets scanned, and then, you can look at how you can work with them in a variety of ways. And it's just a tool to have in your toolbox. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I've done a few, but what was the other thing I was going to... Yeah, with the arthritis... Because I know one of the little doggies that I know has got a little bit of arthritis in his right leg or his right, somewhere. So if you have, I've got the animal one which comes with the app, but what would you do for if they've got a bit of arthritis?
What would I do? Well, first of all, I'd send them to Donna DoLittle, animal communicator, and get a healing done by her.
Right, yeah, well... if it's not my dog, because obviously I'm meeting different dogs, so
I'm really big on suggesting, they have fish oil tablets, into turmeric, all these kind of things to start with as well. And then if you're actually going to run Healy treatments on them, look for doing joints. It really depends on what you want to know in terms of where they're coming from. I also do a method called whole energy body balance.
Right.
And that's a hands-on plus an energy. There's two versions of that I work with animals. It just really depends on their level of arthritis. So Fergie passed at 16, and he'd had arthritis since I got him. So, I worked with him for 7 years, but I was very big on, the food, exercise, everything. Like it's not just one thing, it's a whole broad range. So like Ajax now has got arthritis. I'm dealing with him. I'm doing red light therapy and healing with food, but I need to massage him as well. And his arthritis started after he had an operation, and it just exacerbated all of his problems. He had a lump on his thyroid, and so after the operation, he fell down the stairs. We'd never had any problems till then. And, you know, as his mum, I want him to be perfect and not have all this pain. As an animal communicator, I can tune in and go, what can I do? But the messages that are going here are not connecting to the messages in his back end. And that's something that I have to work with other people to help me get those neuros working. So, you know, the Healy is amazing because if I use it tonight, he'll be bouncing tomorrow. If I don't use it tonight, he's slow when he gets up in the morning. So, you know, I do definitely see the balance, the benefit of using a product like that.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say with mine, I had when I was in Australia, I had lots of friends all sending me info, and for some reason I just didn't look at it at all, and I don't think I'd actually come across anybody in person that said, oh, this is what it does. So, but now I know that it had to happen over here for me, so I've connected with the, you know, a couple of groups over here, and I'm having a field day with running all the programs on mine, and, you know, I'm doing it for a couple of different friends and the animals, and yeah, so it's been amazing, and I will share that what came up for me was 73 or 75% allergies. When I had a deeper scan on the Tesla device, all through my organs, it came up with hair dye everywhere in my body. And I thought, oh my God, of course, you know, I'm not ready to go all grey gracefully, but but, you know, I've gone into highlights now, so I've stopped using the dye. And I know another friend, and I said, and she's used dye since, I don't know, 16, 18, I can't remember. And she's crippled up, and I said, you know what, one of the major things could be because how many of us have dyed our hair, you know? And what I was using was natural, but obviously there was the chemicals that were in there affected me, you know, which I'm addressing now, and I've had another scan, and it's all the redness is gone, so, you know, I'm working with that. But it was only this little device that picked up what was going on. I didn't even have a clue. You know, I knew I was in a lot of pain. But
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm sharing it with all my friends. Say, take a look at this if you want to know any more. Fine, and if you don't, you know, no drama. You know, I'm here if I can help. But yeah.
Have you tried the what they call the is there homeopathics or something in there?
Oh yeah,
I just can't think of what it's called, but at the moment
Psyche or something.
It comes up all the time, and it said I'm 97%, and underneath it says I feel like I'm a house cleaner, and I just keep laughing because I hate house cleaning, right? And I go, yeah, okay, no more house cleaning for me. It says so. And
yeah, that's that problem sorted.
I mean, look, it's amazing tool, isn't it? I just love it. I've had it about a year and a half now, and I bought it for myself, and then saw the benefits of using it for all my pets. And you know, I work with a lot of animal communicators who I've recommended it to, and you know, I don't think I could go now without my healer, because, you know, I'm always working on, well, not working, but, you know, like a lot of stuff's going on at the moment, so I make sure my immune system's up.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm tired or my energies are flat, because doing healing work like this, you can get tired and exhausted. You know, I run it for the energy purposes and things like that. So, you know, I just love it.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah. Okay, so we've, have you written any books?
About animal communication, no, but I did write books about Facebook marketing. Interestingly enough, I have got a couple of books on the works at the moment. I'm going to be releasing a book soon about dowsing and animals, or using pendulums for animals in relation to doing healing. And I have actually got an animal communication book that I've written, but I'm not launching that yet. So, you know, in due course, yes, I will release those. It's just when, because it's one of those things as a small business owner, you're still working in your business, but you've also got to work on your business.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just when is the right time to do these things.
Fabulous.
So there's always stuff going on.
Oh yeah, well, so obviously all your family are into. So I take it you've got a husband or a partner. He's into animals as well. So was he into animals before he met you?
Well, he said he was into animals before he met me, but I'm not sure about that. When he turned up at the doorstep one day, and I had 4 dogs and 2 cats, and yeah, I love animals. And you know, 7 years later, he says to me, "There's no more dogs, no more cats," and I think, yeah, you weren't telling the truth, were you? But I have to give him credit. He gets up in the morning and lets the doggies out for early morning stuff. Then the rest of the time, they're my pets. And they make sure they wake him up at 5:30 in the morning too, because they know Mum's not going to get up.
Yeah. Love it. Wow.
Very good.
Well, I think we're coming to the end. So it's been a delight to listen to all your stories and sharing, and I hope some of the viewers have got, well, I know they would have got a lot from listening to you, and maybe following you up for sessions and even doing some courses. So with the courses, do you need to have a pet?
No.
All right.
Obviously, I do a couple of sessions where we might connect with our own pets, but if you don't have a pet, then often people have got mum or dad's got a pet, or their brothers or sisters have got something, so we connect with those. You know, lady recently, she didn't have one. Her daughter had a dog, and the daughter also had a cow, so that was the animal she worked with. So no need to have your own pet, just have a love of animals.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on
for
and
having
sharing
me.
your wisdom and your pictures, and it's been really lovely, and I should talk to you at another time.
Thank you, and I do hope we didn't get too much feedback. If we need to, I'm always welcome to do it again.
All right, well, I might book you I've got a couple of people already that are ready to come back, so but yeah,
Excellent.
no, it's been our delight and pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh,
So can you just stay on the line? I just want to try something.
And we've got
Okay.
next week's guest is Sequoia Haskell, Warrior of the Light, fully out there with her work. So looking forward to talking with Sequoia.
Good.